Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. I'm your frequent host, Joe, and with me on this episode, I have Cody and Brett. Just going to introduce them for themselves. Keeping it loose this week.
We are off to a good start.
Off to a great start.
Standardize that. We're like, we either choose the host to do that or we do that.
We should probably figure that out at some point.
I think
but
it sounds
hey,
better when the host just says who's there.
This isn't that week.
Up randomly and tell no one until it's like happening live. So
maybe we need to restart.
Let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Keep it loose.
Oh, Christ.
Let's do it. I'm on my third drink of the night. Everything's great. Let's just keep this flowing. I mean, we have kind of a loose episode this week anyway, so I think it's appropriate. Right. Let's start, as we usually do, by talking a little bit about other things we've been up to recently in the pop culture landscape. Brett, we'll start with you because Cody's taking a big old drink right now. What have you been up to lately?
I don't think I've been doing anything new as of like last recording.
Sorry, did you say nude?
Nude, yes, nothing nude.
Okay.
I shut down my OnlyFans and
hashtag free the nipple.
No, I mean, we started watching that Kaleidoscope show, which will quite possibly be a future podcast episode, so I won't go in too much on that, but it's been pretty interesting so far. It will definitely be interesting to see how they're kind of like their little word's not coming in right now, but the way they're doing it, the way it like affects the whole series as a whole. We'll see how that goes. Other than that, I haven't really been watching anything else new or anything. I just bought a new computer monitor, which I'm currently using. Oh. So that's exciting. That's probably the biggest thing going right now. And I got my whole computer arrangement actually is different from the last time we recorded. So like a different part of the same room where I was before. So nice. That's exciting on that end. But
you got 4K, you got HDR. What do you got going on there?
The new monitor is a 1440 resolution, 165 hertz. It's not a 4K, but it's
nice. I mean, it's
beefier than what I had.
Nice. So. Cody, you been up to anything exciting?
Yeah, I've been spending my fleeting moments of vacation here playing Dying Light, which I mentioned to a couple guys here behind the scenes, but it's an open world zombie survival game. I think it's older. I don't even know when it first came out. It might have been a PS4, like Xbox type game. And
yeah, it was probably like 2018.
Okay.
Didn't a sequel to that come out recently? I feel like I heard
last year. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a part 2 for sure. Yeah, but it's fun though. It's having really a lot of fun playing that.
Dying Light is 2015. My God.
Oh, wow.
Oh, 2015. Okay.
There you go.
But I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, take Switch graphics for what you will. It looks better, I would say, than most graphics on most high-end Switch games look. So, I mean, it looks pretty on the system, which not everything does look as pretty as that, which is one of the big knocks. Beyond that, I guess the biggest thing I've been doing is just basically avoiding Andor. So I continued to not get through that again this week. I watched one episode. Nope, that's not true. We watched half of episode 4 before Karen fell asleep. So we got half of that in, and then she leaves to Florida Sunday. So,
man, I mean, can you watch it without her?
I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe
I'll watch Kaleidoscope while she's gone, and we'll just get to Andor.
I like how you're like watching and doing 5 million other things in the middle of not watching Andor.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. I'll do my own Andor podcast one of these days.
There you go. Somebody or Dave watched it, I think, right?
I think Brett, didn't you say you watched it?
Yep, I've seen it, and I think did Justin say he started or something? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think he at least started it. I don't know how far he's gotten.
Maybe you four should just do the podcast, and I'll just be like, Ryan Johnson sucks in the background.
I mean, he had nothing to do with that. Also, it sounded like you were quite fond of his last movie last week. So,
Well, the more I thought about it, I'm dumb, so I was like,
oh,
it's kind of
so
offensive to me, really. Plus,
yeah,
I'm a big proponent of
Benoit Blanc
men's
wants nothing to
rights,
do with
so
you. I don't know if you're joking or not.
right?
Oh, hey.
Oh boy. Wow, we are all over the place today.
We sure are. Well, I've been up to some things.
Yeah, what have you been up to?
I recently came into the possession of a PlayStation 5 video game console.
Lucky dog.
Yeah, I feel quite fortunate. And over the past couple of days, I started playing God of War: Ragnarok, which is the latest entry in a series that apparently started 17 years ago, which makes me feel really old.
I didn't think Thor Ragnarok was that old.
But I'm just gonna ignore you.
You probably can do live that tonight.
Yeah, the God of War series started on the PlayStation 2, and the original few games were kind of like just mindless button mashing, like hyper violent, pretty sexist. Probably would not hold up well these days. But in 2018, they made a reboot for the PlayStation 4, and it's basically a complete overhaul of the series. Like the gameplay, the combat, all of that is different, but just the tone is completely different too. It's like much more serious and grounded and much less sexist and problematic. And the 2018 God of War was just a fantastic game. Like I think it's even on a lot of critics like best games of all time list.
Wow.
So God of War Ragnarok just came out last year, and that's the follow up to that reboot, and really enjoying it so far. It kind of suffers a little bit from the fact that it is a follow up to that hard reboot. So whereas that one felt completely, fresh in terms of the franchise, this one is kind of more of the same to an extent. But I mean, more of the same when it's something great is not always a bad thing. So that's been a lot of fun.
Have you met a certain, I don't want to spoil too much, but have you met a certain god of thunder yet?
Oh, I have.
Okay.
Yes.
I've seen that encounter, and that is one of the more amazing things in gaming that I've seen lately.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I don't feel like it's super spoilery because he actually shows up like really, really, really early in the game.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it's like one of the first things that happens. I mean, at least your initial meeting is. So the original God of War franchise took place in like the Greek pantheon, and this reboot, starting with the 2018 one, is actually set it's the same character, but he has now kind of moved over to the world of Norse mythology. And this Ragnarok obviously is part of Norse mythology, but Brett is alluding to the fact that Thor is the character who shows up in God of War Ragnarok, and if you thought
apparently it's the Thor that failed to kill Thanos because he's
I was going to say
rotund.
If you thought Marvel's Thor was fat for a minute, then you have to see God of War Ragnarok's Thor.
Okay.
I mean, the other interesting thing, have either of you guys ever watched The West Wing?
Not really.
Not me.
Okay. Odin in God of War Ragnarok is played by Richard Schiff, who was one of the main characters on The West Wing, and he's like not at all who anyone would ever picture as playing Thor, but he's kind of amazing in the game as well.
This is an amazing character build.
Are you looking at Thor?
Yeah.
He's great. Like his whole I'm not sure who like voices him in the game, but he's amazing as well.
Why does he not have armor on his chest? It's like anti-armor.
He's got all that fat. It's like nature's armor. He can just absorb it.
That's not how that works.
Anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention, just today, actually, I watched a movie that I had heard of that came out towards the end of last year called The Menu. And you guys know, but I don't know if the audience does, I'm a giant wuss, so I generally tend to avoid horror movies because I don't like being scared. So I I'd heard this movie was good, but I kind of avoided it because any description you read of it says that it's a horror movie, and it's really not. I would say it's like a thriller, like there's some kind of unsettling stuff in it, but it's mostly like just a really dark comedy. It's got an amazing cast. I mean, the basic premise of the movie is a group of people go to a very exclusive, very expensive, high-end restaurant, the kind that you have to make reservations like years in advance. And it's like you have to get on a boat and travel to an island to get there. And Rafe Fiennes plays the chef at this restaurant. And without getting too spoilery, things kind of take a dark turn for the guests who are brought there. But it's really kind of just like a sharp commentary on like just rich people and hot cuisine and all kinds of different things. But it's a really fun movie. It's on HBO Max now. I don't think Cody has that, but anyone out there who has HBO Max, highly recommend it. It's just a fun time.
I wish I did because I'm really interested to see the Last of Us show.
Oh yeah, I think that starts like next week.
It must be
15th, I want to say.
Commercials over and over,
starring the Mandalorian himself.
Yeah, which came out in a recent interview that apparently the Mandalorian's not starring the Mandalorian himself because he was off filming The Last of Us, and they had doubles under the helmet for a lot of the season, apparently for season 2.
I mean, I have wondered all along how much time he's actually spending under the helmet. I mean, all he really has to do is voiceover for that show for the most part.
I mean, he's not allowed to take it off. That's in the code.
That's true.
Oh well.
But yeah, I'm excited about Last of Us 2. Like I mean that I actually haven't played The Last of Us Part 2, but that first game is fantastic, and
they're both really good.
Yeah, and I mean that show's being done by the guy who did the Chernobyl miniseries on HBO, and that is like astounding. So I think it might be
Chernobyl movie.
Yes,
the Chernobyl Diaries.
I don't know what that is.
It's a horror movie, Joe. Check it. I mean, it's not that scary. You should go check it out.
No, it's not. I should watch it because it's not scary.
Open way to trick you now.
Well, maybe it's just like a documentary, really.
I think it's just about a bunch of little creatures. I don't know what they are, but you should check it out. Like Smurfs almost.
Anyway, speaking of movies, awesome segue.
That's where
this week we thought it would be fun since we're at the beginning of the year here, and there are a lot of movies coming out in 2023. We thought it'd be fun to sit down and each make our own list of the top 10 movies we were most excited about that are coming out this year. So we each have our top 10 most anticipated movies of 2023. I think we're all kind of curious to see what everyone else has on their lists. I know that we tend to have some different taste in movies.
Some of us are good, some of us not.
I mean, Cody, you said yourself earlier that you're not really a movie guy.
That's
so
true.
That might explain why your taste is legendarily terrible.
Well, it's rarely the way I will choose to spend my time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of surprised when you said that. Like
people assume I'm a movie guy, and I really like
I
told you, I literally watch 10 a year.
Yeah.
Probably go to like 5 in the theater and maybe watch 10 total on my own, other than, like I said, our family watches movies with meals, so that's how I watch most of the ones, but they're all ones I've already seen,
Yeah.
That we're introducing the kids to.
How about you, Brett? Like, do you consider yourself a cinephile, or were you?
Whoa!
I said cinephile.
It's a bit personal. I would say maybe like a medium. We used to, before we had kids, we had a habit of most weekends, like on Friday, as I was leaving work, I would stop in at the video store and I would grab like 3 or 4 movies, and we'd watch like 4 movies over the weekend. Once we had kids, that ended up stopping because it just didn't work out so well. But I mean, now we still watch movies, but it's kind of similar to what Cody was like getting at, that it's a lot of repeats. It's like, oh, the kids really like this movie, so we'll watch it like 10 times.
I guess that'll happen when you have kids.
Good point, though. Before we had kids, also, we would walk to Family Video and just walk the aisles for hours.
What are these video stores you guys keep talking about?
Yeah.
What?
There's still a couple.
Does not compute. Oh, really?
Yeah, there's still a couple in business. Most of them have been reclaimed by some other business using that, iconic building shape. But
yeah,
there are still a couple down here.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe because I don't have kids, I still consider myself a fairly involved movie watcher.
Yeah, ironically, you don't have kids, but Alexis does. So
that's not true, listener. That I know of.
You're the kid, Joe. That's the joke.
That's not funny. If you have to explain a joke, that doesn't really work.
I'd explain it to you because you were the subject of it. So she got the joke. Trust me.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I probably starting in my 20s started like really getting into movies and trying to explore the world of cinema. I mean, one of the worst things over the past couple of years for me is that I have barely gone to see any movies in theaters. I still don't really feel comfortable for the most part going to theaters. So it sucks because I love nothing more than, going to see a movie on the big screen. And were it not for the pandemic, I would probably be going to see, at least 1 or 2 movies a month in the theater. But I think I've seen like maybe 3 or 4 movies in theaters since 2020.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think the last one that we saw in theater was Endgame.
Oh.
I think that's the last time we would have been in the theater.
Yeah, I saw Top Gun Maverick I think I saw 2 movies in the theater last year. I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once and Top Gun Maverick. And I don't even remember seeing anything like the couple of years before that. So
yeah,
it's been pretty sparse.
I don't think we've been there since Avatar 2. So that was like a week ago.
It was a long time.
Yeah, maybe we.
Mister, I'm not a movie guy. Going to see Avatar in the theater.
When you asked what we have been up to, I didn't mention. I don't know if we'll ever do a podcast on it. Probably not because it's come and gone. But I did watch the fantastic movie Bullet Train while my parents were here, which was amazing. I was hoping
that was pretty fun.
Be good, and it was really fun.
Yep.
It was like
I haven't seen that one yet.
It was like very Tarantino-esque, but a little more fun than a Tarantino movie.
Less feet.
I think that was
less dingus also, but
I think that was directed by the one of the 2 guys who made the first John Wick movie.
Okay. It was just set up in a really cool way. It was a fun movie.
Yeah, I would probably watch that at some point.
Shout out to that. It's on Netflix. It's free. It's fun.
Nice. I might check that out soon.
And one of the people starring in it is going to propel somebody into my top 10 today.
What?
So get ready.
Well, maybe the guy from the John Wick movie will be involved in my top 10. Who knows?
Okay.
Well, let's get into it. Let's start with some honorable mentions. I know Cody and I at least have a couple of those. Brett said you have like a bottom 10.
I do. I have an extended list here of things that I may mention.
Oh, that's fun.
Let's start off with your extended list then.
Yeah.
Sure thing. So
let's get right into it.
This is like the Razzies before they're given out for the year. I love it.
I mean, a little bit. I like that here. So I first I'll go over some like more of the honorable mentions, just missing the cut kind of movies. I have the Marvels, which is basically a Captain Marvel sequel, more or less. It sounds like. If there's a Quiet Place. Apparently, it's a prequel, or not like a side story. My wife and I were actually looking up stuff like before we did this, and I couldn't tell earlier when I was looking if it was a spin-off or a sequel. And apparently, it's a side story. It's in the same time frame, but like a completely different cast.
What is it called?
It doesn't have a name yet.
Oh, okay.
I could find very little information on it, but other than it is in production, and Krasinski is like the main dude doing it. So
okay.
There's another Insidious movie coming out, and I really like the first 2 movies. So pretty excited to see another one come out. There's that Megan movie. I've seen you guys right a bit for that. It's like a doll that like a little robotic girl that like comes to life, starts like murdering people.
That's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Actually, I saw a review of that, and they actually said it was really good, which kind of surprised me, honestly. But
yeah, the trailer looks pretty good. Trolls 3, I mean, the first two were pretty good. The kids love those. And then a movie called Missing, which is essentially a mother and her boyfriend go on vacation and don't come back, and the daughter's like, where's my parents? And she like goes through this whole process of like tracking them down. And there's a movie called Inside with oh god, that name was just in my head. What is it? Willem Dafoe. Which looks like pretty kind of intense and like this movie where he's like really kind of like looking into his own soul kind of thing.
That sounds interesting. Love Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. So those are movies that I think are interesting, but didn't make the top 10. I know you guys probably may notice as well, but it's like 2023 is gonna be like the year of like sequels that like nobody asked for and probably we don't need. There are so many.
The majority of my top 10 list is not made up of sequels. What?
Well, I'm not saying mine isn't either, but that just goes to show like how many there are out there.
Yeah, that is very true.
You know, so I'm just a quick list here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Expendables 4, Saw 10, Scream 6, and a Hunger Games prequel, which apparently
nobody asked for that.
Yeah, apparently that's telling the story of President Snow when he was a teenager, which I don't give a crap about. So
right.
And Fast and Furious 10, which I mean at this point they're probably like going into space. I don't even know. They're probably like drifting spaceships around the planets or something. I don't freaking know. After the first movie of that series, I was like, nope, that's where I'm done.
I have not seen a single one of those movies.
Which movies?
Fast and the Furious.
Oh,
Fast 10, Furious 10.
I might have seen the first one. I'm not positive. I used to always make jokes about what was his name, Paul Walker, with this car accident, but we don't need.
That's not funny. If they don't use the phrase "Fast 10 your seatbelts" in any of the marketing for that movie, they're missing out.
Copyright that now.
Don't give them that for free. Come on.
I'm just putting it.
Listening.
I guarantee they've already got it out there somewhere.
This is the guy who just literally gets paid to say, "I am Groot." Are you sure about that?
That's fair.
He may not. Was that your bottom 10, Brett?
That was essentially my bottom 10.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Those are movies that I have no interest in seeing at all.
Yep. Okay, great.
What do you got for HMs, Cody?
All right. So before I get to my HMs, I have a couple look into the future movie reviews for us here for 2023. So you need to watch these, or you can come back and look at this podcast a year from now and check out how close I was on these. Brett mentioned some of these already, but critics said The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The review just said, why? Then we have Fast 10, which interestingly the reviewer said why about. Mission Impossible Part 27. Joe's going to have issue, but the reviewer said why is this out there? And then Saw 10, Insidious, and Scream 6 Brett already covered. However, I'm going to mention one more honorable mention to my terrible movies, which is not my real honorable mention list. The movie 65 with Adam Driver. Have you seen that one?
That looks incredible.
I watched the trailer and I was like, this actually doesn't look bad, because I rip on this guy all the time for being a terrible actor. And then they got to the part with the dinosaurs, and I was like, oh, here's the review. Why?
It's Dino Crisis, the movie.
Terrible. Ooh. Didn't make any sense. They're saying what? I don't even want to get into it. I'm not even going to waste my time. Never mind. I won't get into it. The actual...
that movie does look terrible, but I feel like it looks like it could be like terribly fun.
The premise is just bizarro. But anyway, so they're saying a future civilization came here and got killed by the dinosaurs.
Listen, Cody, let me put it in terms you might understand.
Was Emperor
it's a donut hole in a donut's hole.
All right, my real honorable mentions. I have two fake honorable mentions first, for different reasons. Number one, Dune 2, and it's only not on my list or an honorable mention because I still have not seen Dune 1. But when I do, I want to see Dune 2. Hopefully, if Dune 1 is good. And the second one I have, like, I like one of the ones Brett mentioned, there's just not a lot out there. This is really shrouded in not a lot of information at the moment. Is called Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I knew I recognized the name of, and I had to go into the plot synopsis to actually see what it was. It was the ship and Dracula, the novel. So this is, they took one chapter out of Dracula and expanded it to a full movie. It's just where the captain basically was like, we had all these coffins on board, yada, yada, crates, and then the ship arrives at the harbor. Spoiler for the movie that comes out on August 11th. The whole crew is dead, and it's an empty ship, but that's just from the book. So that could be interesting. So I put that.
That actually sounds really cool.
I put that close to my honorables. All right, so my actual honorables, here you go. First, I mentioned Bullet Train earlier. This is where I may have become a fan of Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was Tangerine and Bullet Train. Fantastic. Check that out. But this is the movie Kraven the Hunter, which is another Spider-Verse type movie with a character that I know from the comics because he was always very serious when we had like the really jokey comic characters. And has the Chameleon as a villain, I guess, in this. And they're trying to make all these villains anti-heroes, I guess, like Morbius and Venom or whatever. But this one could be interesting
because they don't have the rights to Spider-Man, so they're trying to work with what they have.
Well, that's another interesting thing. But they do have the rights to Spider-Man.
Well, they do, but they have an agreement with Marvel, right? So it's a weird situation.
Piss on it if they wanted to. But anyway, this is really a character that at a young age was interesting to me because I had gotten a pile of like used comics from somewhere, and there's a 6-part mini series with Spider-Man where Kraven hunts him.
Define used.
There was writing on the cover and I got it from someplace. But anyway, in issue 5 of this 6-issue miniseries, Kraven commits suicide in the comic. And that was a really pretty dark moment for me as a young kid to be like, holy shit, there's a comic character who just like takes a gun and offs himself in the penultimate issue of that series. So I'm curious what they're going to do with this character, and the actor has me intrigued. My other 2 honorable mentions real quick here are, I don't know if this shows that there's just not a lot of movies I'm excited about next year or not, but I've seen this preview at movie theaters, I think twice now. It's the Dungeons and Dragons movie, Honor Among Thieves, and it just looks funny.
Yeah.
Like
that was very close to being on my list, and then very close to being an honorable mention, but it got booted off. But that does look like a lot of fun.
It looks funny. Chris Pine looks funny in it, and the girl who like does the shape shifting into the animals looks pretty cool. Like I think she's good at steal the movie. But and then the third one, is The Blackening. Which is based on the old Comedy Central skit, which I had never seen prior to today. So I watched the skit and I laughed my ass off for 4.5 minutes straight. It's so funny. Joe, if you're not familiar with this, basically the concept that they're expanding to the whole movie is there's a serial killer on the run who is going to kill somebody. All these like people are out at this remote place, and in typical horror movie fashion, the black character gets killed first. And the serial killer finds that all of the characters are black and thus doesn't know what to do. So in the original skit, which you'll have to watch, there's like 10 of them. They're trying to prove who is the blackest character based on terrible stereotypes. That the killer knows who to kill. It's so funny though. Oh my God. So funny. So those are my 3: Kraven the Hunter, Dungeons and Dragons, and The Blackening.
Nice.
Not a lot of details on the actual movie for the last one as of yet.
I also have 3 honorable mentions, and I have a feeling at least 2 of these are probably on Cody's top 10, but we'll find out. Let's start off with Cocaine Bear, which is a movie that it was my number 10 for a while and ended up getting moved off the list. But this is based on a true story.
This can't be a good movie.
I mean, I don't want it to be a good movie.
I know. I'm just saying it can't be a good movie.
I want it to be the movie that is promised by the title Cocaine Bear.
That's fair.
Apparently based on actual events in which a grizzly bear stumbled upon a package of cocaine that was lost in a drug deal gone wrong, and wackiness ensues. It's directed by Elizabeth Banks, who...
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, I think she like wrote and directed the Pitch Perfect movies, or at least what it's out. It's not her first directorial thing. Like, it's not her directorial debut, but I mean, I like her, as an actress, and she seems to have some good, comic sensibilities. So I'm just hoping it lives up to the name. Like, that's, I don't expect it to be good, but it sounds like it could be a lot of fun. My next honorable mention is The Marvels, which Brett already mentioned, but it's the follow-up to Captain Marvel, but they're bringing in other characters because of the backlash to Captain Marvel / Brie Larson, I feel like. Which I actually really liked the first Captain Marvel movie. I thought Brie Larson was great. But I also really liked the Miss Marvel TV series, and this is bringing Kamala Khan into the movies. So I'm really excited to see what they do with that. Spoiler alert, this is the only Marvel movie that I will be mentioning tonight.
Okay.
Or at least I should say only MCU movie. My third honorable mention is the Super Mario Brothers movie. I was as upset as everyone else when they announced that Chris Pratt was playing Mario in this movie.
He's Italian.
I am still very much not sold on that casting. But the trailers that they've released, I mean, just the visuals just look amazing. Like, it looks like they really captured the feel of the games. It looks like they're really actually trying to capture the feel of the games for once.
Yeah.
So I mean, just based on the character design and the worlds that they've shown, Jack Black is Bowser. I mean, that bit of casting I'm excited about. It just looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So, I mean, even though I'm not quite the Nintendo head that other people here are, it is something that I'm looking forward to. So, I guess with that, let's move into the top 10s proper. Brett, since you kicked off the honorable mentions, what do you have in your number 10 slot?
Oh, sucker.
Sure, let's go with this.
Wait.
So
I'm going to do an over-under of 2 movies that are on all 3 of our lists. I'm going to say 2.
Okay.
Just checking.
Are you naming the movies, or are you just saying
no?
I'm
just trying to guess.
common?
I'm just trying to guess how many we're all going to have in common. I'm going to say 2. We'll see.
On all 3 lists.
The 2 that'll be on all 3 lists. Maybe not. Might not be any. I don't know. We'll see.
I'll say maybe 1. I really don't think there's going to be that much crossover.
Okay.
Since you shot the MCU in the foot already, I guess no.
That does. I was going to say 3, but based on your 2 numbers, I'm not. I'm second guessing that now. But okay, so it's actually just coincidentally, like right before, as I said, my wife and I were like kind of looking through movies for the year this evening, and there's a movie I was going to stick on here, and then apparently it's like kind of like at this point it's just postponed like indefinitely, and that's Star Trek 4. So that is not my number 10, although I want it to be. What is my number 10 is a movie that probably will be terrible, but I still have a nostalgia boner for it. So
you picked Mission Impossible. Good for you, buddy.
Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Oh, okay.
When the first Transformers movie came out, it was great. I saw that in theaters. I actually saw it in theater in Tennessee, which is kind of interesting. Story for later, maybe. But they just I haven't even actually seen the last 2 movies. But it's Transformers is one of those big things from my childhood that I enjoyed for a long time, and I still am excited for this, even though I don't know that I'll even see like when I'll get around to seeing it. But like one thing I just wrote down here real quick was like apparently it's set in the 90s, which I have no idea how that's going to work out, because obviously the first movie in this series came out in the early 2000s. And so how are they going to explain that? My fear wasn't
the Bumblebee movie set in like the 80s or 90s? I didn't see that one, but I think that was I think that was like a prequel or flashback kind of thing.
My fear is that they're just going to be like, don't ask questions, just go with it. And they're not even, because that would be just on par with the writing. But anyways, number 10 for me is Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Nice.
That's going to be awful.
I mean,
However,
it probably it looks like Michael Bay is no longer directing them, so it might be better than some of the other. I mean, I agree with Brett. I like the first one a lot. I saw that one in the theater, but I think I saw the first three and they just got progressively worse.
Yeah.
But I respect that choice because if they put out another terrible G.I. Joe movie, I'd be all over it. So I respect that.
Right.
Okay, my number 10 was not in my top 10, but due to some shuffling that occurred earlier this afternoon, it is now my 10. And this is Evil Dead Rise as my number 10. Not a movie that was really on my radar. I had just actually seen an article maybe in the last day or two about it, maybe when I was browsing through the news, but the more I thought about it and I watched the trailer for this one, I have always enjoyed this series, whether it was like the original old school trilogy or the TV show that they did, or even the musical that I've gone to see. Like, this has been more ingrained in my life than I guess I really considered for a second there. And this looks again like it's got some pretty serious, scary tones. I didn't see a lot of comedy there going for in the trailer, at least. So
did you see the last one, the reboot?
I have not seen the reboot. No, did you?
I have not. I mean, from what I understand, though, that one has like zero comedy. It's like just straight up horror. And I don't know if this new one is actually a sequel to that or if it's kind of another reboot, but I think it's probably going in that same direction.
Yeah, and I mean, that's another thing I appreciate the series in the world for too. You know, because they can do that over the top scary movie as well as over the top comedy, both. So, yeah, it's my number 10, Evil Dead Rise, out of nowhere.
Nice. Oh, speaking of out of nowhere, my number 10 is one that I would bet money is on neither of your lists. And that is Barbie. The Barbie movie. Barbie.
Might not be as long as you think till you hear that name.
Barbie. I mean, this is one that honestly surprised me that it's on my list, but just based on the talent involved in this movie, I, at the very least, am just insanely curious as to what it's going to be. I mean, it stars Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, who are both like Academy Award nominees
for Babylon. Oh wait, never mind.
But it was also directed by Greta Gerwig, who is a fantastic filmmaker, like mostly kind of making indie films, and it was written by her and her partner Noah Baumbach, who is also a fantastic filmmaker in his own right. So it has like this weird, super strong, like indie film pedigree behind the camera, and just like this, really strong cast in front of the camera.
It's almost like The National was teaming with Taylor Swift. It's crazy.
I know. It's a match made in heaven. I don't know if either of you guys watched the trailer for this that they released, but the trailer is like a weird, like 2001 A Space Odyssey homage. And it feels like it's setting this kind of like, rebellious tone. The trailer looks fun, and just with all the people involved, I mean, I at least have to see what it is. I feel like
creepy with the little girls smashing the dolls and stuff. It's a little creepy.
I thought that was hilarious.
It is, but it's a little creepy too, like porcelain dolls breaking.
That's fair, but yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting if nothing else. But moving on to our number 9s, what do you got, Brett?
Well, I have a movie that Cody was bashing just a moment ago, and that's 65.
Oh, hey.
This looks pretty interesting to me. Hey, I'm a sucker for dinosaurs, and what's kind of maybe interesting, I don't know, we'll see, but it kind of is like a Planet of the Apes kind of setup, except that the fact that it's on Earth is not a plot twist at the end. They just it's right out there in the trailer, but essentially this guy goes into space and like crash lands, and turns out, well, he crash landed on Earth, but somehow he's now like 65 million years in the past. So it's him with like futuristic weapons versus dinosaurs, and he's got like, there's like a girl or something too, I guess, like I don't know who she is, but
I think he's like trying to protect her for some reason.
Right.
This is a protect mission. Do not let your person get hurt. No. Damn it.
I think it looks fun. And also, I think Adam Driver is pretty good. So screw you, Cody.
That's right. I'll have to watch something he's good in someday.
For me, it kind of from the trailer, like you said, it seems like a it's a more like serious kind of thriller kind of dinosaur movie, which maybe will bring some vibes from like Jurassic Park, the first one, is my thought. Whereas the other ones, as we've talked about plenty, but they are more just like a fun action thing, and they're not like a scary thriller thing. And this actually looks like dinosaur horror. So that was mostly what drew me to it. So yeah, number 9, 65. Nice.
Quick side note, go back and listen to our episode about the Jurassic franchise, folks.
Yeah.
Whatever episode number that was.
That's out there.
Episode number inserted here, Cody.
I don't have that spreadsheet pulled up at the moment. I can pull it up in a second. All right, my number 9 is a movie that, again, was not in my top 10, but jumped up at the end here due to some shuffling today. This is an important date in American history, and not only American history, but world history. And this movie talks about something that changed the world forever, where they started to use material that was already on Earth, but in a completely new way. This is Barbie.
What?
Just kidding. It opens the same day as Barbie, though. This is Oppenheimer, starring Cillian Murphy.
I believe it's Cillian, actually.
Your mom is. All right, anyway. Apologies for that. My kids were doing your mom jokes all day
my
today.
Mom is Cillian Murphy? That's weird.
Maybe. But this is the story about the guy who helped develop the atomic bomb, and this was a really, for me, like a super straight-laced drama, which I normally would not pick, but it did look pretty good. Music in the trailer is pretty epic. The performance is pretty epic. The reviews I've looked at for the trailer, which is a weird thing to say, said that he has really captured the way Oppenheimer had his mannerisms and his vacant stare he'd do off into the distance really well. But this is just going to be an interesting movie, because I know, like, behind the scenes we talk about in the classes and stuff, like how, I don't even know what the number is. It's a crazy number, like 10,000 people or something worked on the atomic bomb, and like 3 of them knew what they were building. But it was like just all of these pieces where people were putting things together using their own specialties, not knowing what the final product was going to be, because not many people were privileged enough to do that or have that knowledge. So this could be interesting. So I picked Oppenheimer for number 9.
People building parts for a giant death machine, but not knowing what it is, you say. That's interesting. Reminds me of
Barbie.
Reminds me of a TV series on Disney Plus that I watched not too long ago called Andor. Watch the fucking show. Spoilers for Andor. Anyway.
Not now. Forget it.
My number 9 is one that was in my honorable mentions until I rewatched the trailer for it yesterday, maybe the day before, and realized that goddamn does it look like it's going to be a lot of fun. And it is a little film called Renfield. I'm not going to say any more about it. That's it.
Fair enough.
So it's Renfield is based on the character from Dracula. So we got another Dracula reference coming on here. He was like Dracula's familiar or like little lackey.
Yeah.
But this movie is a horror comedy that is set in present day and stars Nicholas Hoult as Renfield and Nicolas Cage as Dracula.
Sir Nicolas Cage.
Sir Nicolas Cage as Dracula.
Knighted himself.
And I implore you to just go watch the trailer for this, and you'll probably laugh. I mean, it looks like the premise of the story is Renfield is trying to kind of finally break away from Dracula's control. It's kind of examining their toxic relationship. But it just looks hilarious. I mean, I will watch Nicolas Cage do anything. I feel like he's just gotten more and more Nicolas Cage as he's gotten older.
Yep.
And I mean, Nicholas Hoult is great too. He actually is one of the stars of that movie, The Menu, I was talking about at the beginning. And it's weird because I don't know if either of you has ever seen the movie About a Boy. No.
I think I did.
It starred Hugh Grant, but Nicholas Hoult was in that as the titular boy when he was like, I don't know, like 10 years old or something. So that was like my first exposure to him, and now he's the full-grown man who's in all these movies, and he's fantastic. Like he's just, I feel like he's been in just a lot of amazing things recently. He's in an ongoing series on Hulu, which I'm sure at least one of us has mentioned before, called The Great, which is about the life of Catherine the Great. He plays her husband, Tsar Nicholas, in that. And he's fantastic. He's in that. He's just kind of like a total like clueless buffoon douchebag, and he's so great at it. But yeah, I think the pairing of the two Nicholases in this movie is going to be pretty entertaining. So I had to move that up to my list proper.
Interesting. Yeah, that's one I had to admit. There's a few movies even that you guys have mentioned already that I didn't bring myself to like watch the trailer for. I was just like, I read it and I was like, I moved on. But from what you described there, that does sound actually pretty fun. So
it is a pretty good looking trailer.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and look at that. All right, number 8 for me is a movie that is probably going to be about 50-50 whether it's going to be good or not. If there's track record for the director, and that is the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Knock at the Cabin. This movie stars Dave Bautista and Rupert Grint. Just
oh boy,
an interesting combination.
Can't get enough of that Dave Bautista on this podcast.
It looks, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, because like all his movies always have like some kind of crazy twist that you don't see coming. I have no idea where this one's going to go, but essentially there's this family, this couple has with their child. They're out in this cabin, like this remote cabin in the woods, and like this group of 4 like weirdos shows up and tries to like break in, and they're there claiming that one person of this family must sacrifice themselves to prevent the apocalypse. The entire world is at stake. Where it goes from there, I have no idea. But the premise seems pretty interesting. And I say Shyamalan, it's at like 50-50 at this point, whether it's going to be like amazing or just like, so that at least has me enough excited to put on a list here. Number 8, Knock at the Cabin. Now, apparently it's also like apparently it was like the material was taken like from a book or something as well.
Yeah, I heard that was based on a book.
Yeah.
It could be.
So there was a little bit of controversy I saw because they don't mention that in any of the marketing material.
Oh no.
Oh, interesting. Okay, my number 8.
Okay. Oh boy.
My number 8 comes out on September 15th, and this is the 3rd movie in a series of which I haven't seen the 2nd movie of yet, but when I do, I'm going to get to this 3rd one also. It's the 3rd movie in the renewed Poirot series from Agatha Christie, A Haunting in Venice. We just mentioned during our Glass Onion podcast, Kenneth Branagh's back as Poirot in the 3rd one here. This one I probably put on my list for one reason, and that is the first one, like I said, Murder on the Orient Express, if you didn't listen to our last podcast. Extremely well-known book. Like if you've know anything by Agatha Christie, you might know that, so you might know the story of it. Second one was Death on the Nile, which I actually don't know the story on that one. Haven't read it, haven't seen the old adaptation of it, but I'm going to guess if you're a murder mystery fan, you probably do know that one.
I'm going to guess it involves a death on the Nile.
This one is based on a pretty obscure book by Agatha Christie called Hollow *een Party. Halloween Party with an apostrophe in the middle, which they changed the name here and they changed the setting to go to Venice on this one, I guess, or maybe the book was in Venice. I don't know, but this one I thought was cool because it's a more obscure thing. So if you're even a mystery lover, you probably don't know this one, the plot at least. I don't know this one at all. I've never even heard of that book actually. And this one starts with a murder mystery at a seance, which always adds points to the beginning of a movie. So
atmosphere.
That's my number 8, A Haunting in Venice.
Nice. My number 8 is the first of many sequels that will be on my list. And it is Spider-Man: Across the Spider-Verse. The sequel to Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse, which I honestly still feel to this day it might be the best superhero movie ever made. Don't at me.
It's okay for you to be wrong.
That
a good
movie is
movie.
just, it's fantastic. I mean,
Good movie.
it's got heart, it's got humor, it captures the feeling of being not just Spider-Man, but a superhero in a way that I feel like few other movies have.
I think it's the pig that really did it.
I mean, Spider Pig's great. Spider Ham, I should say. Spider Ham. Anyway, I love that movie, and I'm excited the sequel's finally coming out. It was actually originally supposed to come out last year, but got pushed because of ongoing COVID shizness.
Just for the theater or behind the scenes?
I'm not entirely sure. I think just the theatrical. But this is also actually, I think they had it in the title and then took it out of the title, but this is actually technically part 1 of 2. So it's like a two-parter, but this is the first part. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that it's anywhere even remotely close to as enjoyable as Into the Spider-Verse was, and I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Is Nicolas Cage going to be back for this one? Speaking
I'm not sure, but I hope so.
Right. Okay.
Oh, that's back to me. Forgot the order.
Numero 7.
Number 7. Okay. I have a movie which at this point has almost nothing known about it. It doesn't have a title. It doesn't have a plot that anyone knows of.
Are you sure this movie's coming out this year?
It may not. It's scheduled to. Scheduled to come out in December, which obviously that would already puts it on the borderline. But I just love the first one. And this is the sequel. It's Ghostbusters Afterlife. As I said, the untitled sequel. So I don't know what else, I don't have anything else to call it. But I mean, the first one I really enjoyed. A big part of that, of course, was the fact that the way they brought the old cast back together was really well done, as far as I'm concerned, and like it had a lot of heart and like a lot of feels at the end. Obviously they're not going to be able to do that with the sequel, necessarily. So the best part of the movie, the first one, probably isn't going to be a factor in the second one, but still I'm excited to see what they can do, because the first one was even without like the bit of the nostalgia stuff there. The movie felt really pretty good, as a whole. So I was excited to see what they'll do with the continuing Ghostbusters movies.
Nice.
I haven't seen that one yet. I still need to
I haven't either.
I keep forgetting about it.
Yeah, like I want to. It's on my list, but I just I mean, honestly, your praise for it here is probably going to be the boost I need to finally watch it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I didn't say too much about it then, because
I've heard some things, but I won't say anything.
Yeah, it's good. It's really enjoyable. And it has a lot of nostalgia in it as well. So,
can I ask you one important question about it?
Yeah.
Does bustin' still make you feel good?
I'm not sure how to fit that in.
Okay, well, I added to my list of my ongoing things from all these podcasts that I need to check out, so it's up there. All right, my number 7 has been mentioned, so here's a chance for one maybe to go across the board. This is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, coming in at my number 7 as well, Joseph. First movie, I was actually kind of surprised how good it was, how much I actually liked it. I can't remember if we saw it in the theater or not. We may have, but the animation style was just so unique in that movie compared to other things that we've seen, or I've seen even in my life. It was good to see Miles Morales as a character, and Joe kind of already mentioned, like, he's a really young guy, younger than Spider-Man typically is in the movies, trying to get into the mindset of, like Joe said, am I a hero, am I not a hero? And also was kind of like showed multiple spider people before No Way Home happened, and everybody loved that. So I don't know what they're going to do in this one. I haven't read too much about it. I just know it's out there. I haven't even watched the trailer if there is one. I just know Spider-Gwen is back. I saw in the credits, so maybe that relationship will be explored a little bit more. And I was kind of curious, like in this one, I have to assume since everybody came to his universe basically in the first one, if he's going to be traveling to like the other ones, which could be kind of fun. Like, what does Spider-Ham's universe look like? Where
I think that might be perfect. I'm honestly like I'm trying to. I generally don't go out of my way to avoid spoilers, but for that one, I'm kind of trying to not know too much about it in advance. Like, I just kind of want to see it.
Yeah, that's fair.
My big question is whether there's going to be another Post Malone song in it.
Oh, maybe.
What are you going to say, Cody?
No, I'd say that's my number 7, Cross Spider-Verse.
Well, it looks like I am losing the bet on how many crossovers we're going to have already. My number 7 is Oppenheimer.
Ooh. Oppenheimer, I barely know her.
I mean, I agree with everything Cody said. I think it's just obviously a huge moment in American and world history, and just fascinating subject matter. I mean, the cast is fantastic. Cillian Murphy, like just based on the trailer, looks like he's going to be amazing in that role. Cody, I don't think you even mentioned that this is directed by Christopher Nolan.
Oh, I did not. Good call.
Which, I mean, obviously he is, one of the greatest directors working these days. So
has he made a bad movie? I was trying to think what he's all done.
I haven't seen Tenet yet, but
I was going to say Tenet didn't do much.
I don't think it did. I don't think it did super well. I mean, I think it made money, but like everyone I actually know who has seen it liked it. I own it. I just haven't seen it. But all of his other movies are great. I mean, I think he is, probably one of the best, filmmakers working today. So anything he makes in general is automatically going to be interesting just because he's making it. One thing I was
looking at his filmography here. Actually, I have seen almost everything he's done. I have not seen Tenet, like you said, or Following. I don't know what that one is. His first film.
Oh, I wonder if that was even like a student film or something.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
But he doesn't have a lot of movies either. Memento. I haven't seen Insomnia, actually. Memento, Insomnia, Batman Begins, The Prestige, Dark Knight, Inception, Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, Oppenheimer. That's a pretty strong list.
Pretty strong. One thing I'm curious about with Oppenheimer is that he's claiming that they created the nuclear blast in the movie without CGI.
I saw something about that.
Yeah.
I'm curious what that's about and what that looks like, and also slightly horrified by that statement. So. But I mean, that's another one like the Barbie movie where it's like just with the sum of all the parts, it's at the very least it's interesting, and I'm sure it'll probably add up to something great.
He hired North Korea for $20.
And
they
that much? Jeez.
They're not aware of translation between money.
If North Korea is listening, I just want to say I had nothing to do with that statement, that joke Cody just made.
No, North Korea doesn't have access to this joke.
They don't
have internet sites. Hashtag not a joke. Shout out to our fans there, though.
So number 6.
Number 6 is another sequel, as a good part of my list as well, and that is John Wick Chapter 4 : Chapter 4. Can't forget the colon. It looks like it's going to just be more of the same John Wick, but really that's kind of all we need for these movies.
Hot garbage.
The first movies, the first 3 of them, it's basically, I mean, you're not getting a lot of, not crazy story here, but the action's really flashy, and it's just kind of a fun action ride. It kind of, the whole series as a whole kind of just begs the question, like, just how many bad guys can you watch get shot directly in the face before you've seen enough? And I guess we'll find out with number 4 here.
Haven't gotten to that point yet, huh?
Yeah, not quite yet. So John Wick : Chapter 4.
John Wick's :
John Wick's, that's gonna be the final movie.
Yeah. He finally gets around to having that colonoscopy, and the news isn't good.
Meets his adversary. It's the doctor. Dun dun dun. P.S. Side note: Jurassic Park series was number 26 episode.
Listen to episode 26, folks.
Yes, do that. All right, this next one for me, number 6. Oh my golly, here we go. Golly gee whiz. Listen to this. I tricked all of you people listening in our audience because this movie comes out today that I'm recording this, January 6th, 2023. Stop this podcast and go watch it. You're 2 days behind. Wait, what's today? Friday? You're 3 days behind. This is Netflix own The Pale Blue Eye. Dun, dun, dun. Starring Christian Bale as a detective and Edgar Allan Poe is a character in the show. That's enough to hook me in, of course, because I love Poe. This looks interesting. It's brooding. It's moody. It's atmospheric. Apparently is also based on a novel called The Pale Blue Eye, and it looks good. And Christian Bale's kind of like Christopher Nolan. Like, basically everything he touches turns out pretty good for the most part, I think. Although he's not necessarily my favorite person, I would say, acting wise. He just seems kind of uptight, but I don't know, maybe that's just him. But anyway, this looks good. It looks really a period piece, and it's set in like a military installation at West Point, I think, where cadets are dying mysteriously, and it's like all foggy and dark and shit, and they're bringing in detectives to try to solve it, and it looks really good. So I'm gonna leave you guys right now and go watch that. So I'm out. Boom.
Bye. I believe it also stars Dudley Dursley from the Harry Potter series as Edgar Allan Poe.
Nice.
I can't confirm that, but maybe.
I believe that is the case.
Okay.
My number 6 is another one that I would be surprised if it's on either of your lists, but we'll find out. It is Killers of the Flower Moon, which is kind of like one of the movies Brett had. It's supposedly coming out this year. It also was supposed to be coming out like last year or the year before, so we'll see. But this is the latest movie from Martin Scorsese.
Oh, okay.
Who may be the greatest American director of all time. I'm just putting it out there. But it's based on a novel, and it is set in the 1920s. And is centered around some murders that occur on an Osage Native American reservation.
Oh, okay.
And the FBI investigating those murders. So
I did see this movie on some lists, but I didn't know it until you said that part.
Yeah, I mean, so again, Martin Scorsese, obviously a huge plus.
This the DiCaprio one?
Stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro and Jesse Plemons and Brendan Fraser. I didn't even know he was in that.
Yeah.
But has, a killer cast as you would expect from a Martin Scorsese movie. And I'm just really excited to see I think Martin Scorsese is kind of incredible in that he's been making movies for like over 50 years at this point, and he is still making great films. I think The Irishman was his last movie, and I thought that was fantastic. So I'm just excited to see what he does here.
Cool. All right, we're on number 5, I guess, hey?
Holy cow.
Number 5, I have Evil Dead Rise, which Cody had mentioned early on. Kind of like I said, the Evil Dead series is just, one of those iconic series at this point. The Bruce Campbell's character, Ash Williams, is just like this, like, legend kind of, and this horror icon. And yeah, as you said, like the most recent movie or movies, I just remember there's like been 2, I think. That's just that kind of rebooted. They have been a lot more just like kind of straight laced horror, where they're taking like the same like atmosphere of horror that the original movies had, where it's kind of like kind of crazy, like in your face kind of horror. And they've kind of taken out the comedy, which really made like the first movies, the ones with Bruce Campbell, like really kind of special. And now they're more just kind of straight horror. But I don't know if this one's going to be similar and then it's more just straight horror or what. But Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell are both on as producers, so I feel like it's going to be going in the right direction at the very least. They're going to, I assume they're going to have enough say in what's going on that they'll keep it in the where they think that should be. So excited to see what it is. That's Evil Dead Rise.
Brett, did you watch Ash versus Evil Dead?
I have not.
It's fantastic. You got to find a way to access it. I think it's on Stars maybe now, or it was originally. It was on Netflix for a while. That's where I watched it at.
It was originally on Stars.
Stars. Different zombie game. Sorry, different zombie. But yeah, it's fun. It's total comedy schlock, but it's hilarious. Well, Brett, a little tip for tap for you here. My number 5 is Knock at the Cabin, which you've already mentioned as well. This is our old friend M. Night Shyamalan. I won't add too much here, but he has kind of, he was like the hot director for especially those first 3. And no, I'm not counting Stuart Little too, but the other ones there at the beginning, The Sixth Sense and all those were great. And then he kind of hit some bumps, especially with what was that one? The Happenings. That was the
Happening. Did not have much happening.
Oh boy. But I like some of the weird ones like Lady in the Water and stuff that other people didn't. But some of the more recent ones, I didn't see Glass, but Split was really good. I actually really liked Old as well. And I see he did another one here called The Visit that I didn't actually see.
I heard that was good. I've heard he's been making a comeback.
Yeah, it seems really like it's pretty good again here.
Yeah.
Cast on this is interesting here. Brett mentioned Batista, which I just praised in the Glass Onion podcast. Rupert Grint, and then Jonathan Groff, Kristoff from Frozen is also in this one as well. So we really got some.
I think you mean King George from Hamilton.
Yes, also King George from Hamilton is also true. Yeah, and I think, like Brett said, I'm just more intrigued at what could happen in this movie. I just have no idea if these people are insane or if there's really going to be like some kind of cabin in the woods meta plot where like they're actually saving the world by trying to save, kill someone, sacrifice someone. That's what I'm looking for, to prevent apocalypses they claim or what. And
it honestly almost reminds me kind of the plot of the movie Cabin in the Woods.
It could be. I mean,
where like
who knows what happens?
Spoiler, they're sacrificing people for the old gods.
There's a few similarities there. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, I'm sure it'll be different overall, but like that's like the first thing that pops into my head.
The main premise is,
if they're not insane,
sacrificing people.
But and I was going to mention here too, the family they trap in the cabin is 2 gay guys and then their daughter. And I mentioned that not as like a weird thing to mention, but I'm curious in the plot if that is why these people are choosing this particular family, if that's going to play into like some kind of view they have in the movie as to like why this family has been singled out or something. Or maybe it's just the location, maybe it's the cabin, I don't really know, but I think could go a lot of different ways with this one, so I'm curious where it goes. It's not going to be on Joe's list, so deprive me.
It's not going to be on my list.
Bastard.
But in my number 5 slot, keeping in my hot slot in number 5, it's Dave Bautista again. Guy just keeps showing up. It's just Dave Bautista. He's my number 5.
Anything he does, just blank
his home videos.
Dave Bautista, who is one of the stars of the forthcoming motion picture Dune: Part 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I did not see the first Dune in theaters, but I saw it at home on HBO Max and I thought it was really good. I have not read the books. I will put that out there, but I know some people who have read the books and loved the first movie and said that it was, very faithful to the source material. What really caught my interest is that it was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who also made Blade Runner 2049, which I think is one of the great sci-fi movies of all time that is kind of criminally underseen.
I gotta watch that one too.
But yeah, I mean, he seems to have a knack. I mean, he also did Arrival, which I don't know if you guys have seen that, which was another sci-fi movie. He also did Sicario, which was about like drug running in wars, but but he seems to really have a knack for science fiction. And the first part of Dune was fantastic, and I am excited to see how he wraps it up, and hopefully he will get to make a third one. I think he has said that if Dune 2 does well, he would like to make an adaptation of the next book, so that would be cool.
Good choice. Boy, Batista's got a busy year this year, huh?
Yes, he does.
Wow.
Yeah. 3 releases.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4. We are up to we're finally getting to some of these Marvel movies. It is Ant-Man and the Wasp, colon there, Quantum Mania, colon Mania.
Colon Mania.
Oh yeah.
That's our podcast. Colon Mania.
So I mean, I really enjoyed the first Ant-Man. The second one was good. I think it wasn't as good as the first one. But I just really enjoy Paul Rudd in pretty much everything he does. Fun side story. We'll go into a crazy tangent here. So, my wife, her hall pass is Paul Rudd. Okay, ooh. So coincidentally, so is my hall pass is Paul Rudd. So now you guys know that.
That's amazing, and I will try to make that happen.
I love Paul Rudd too. I don't know quite to that extent, but he's pretty good.
So I mean, this movie looks like it's going to be just like full on CGI, like the whole time. It almost seems like, because it's like they're like in the quantum realm, like the entire movie basically. So I don't know if it's, I don't know what that's going to be. You know, it might be like kind of weird, might be kind of cool. I don't know, but I think really the biggest draw for this is going to be to see how big of a threat is Kang going to be. You know, that's really the draw here. Is this going to kick off the new new Infinity War, essentially, and will it draw like Infinity War did, or will it be like just kind of flat? So that's the draw for me to see, like how big is this next set of the Phase 5 going to be?
Yeah. Well, I'll keep that moving. My number 4 is The Marvels, which has already been mentioned here as well. I didn't know until I was reading about this like last day or two that apparently part of the plot is every time they use their powers, they swap spots with each other.
Oh yeah, I did hear that. That explains the end of the Miss Marvel series.
Yes, which I find very annoying as a viewer already as a plot device. However, I think the battle scenes could be freaking awesome if they use that correctly, with like people flashing out and somebody new flashing in. I don't even know who the villain is in this movie. If they have announced it, they probably have. But so I just thought it'd be cool. And this is, big MCU guy as well. I liked Captain Marvel as well, Brie Larson's performance and everything else. As Joe said earlier, I did not love the Ms. Marvel TV show as much as Joe did from that podcast that we did, but we'll see how this plays out. And then with Monica Rambeau in there too, we'll see what happens. I don't really know. This is going to be kind of a weird one. So that's my number 4.
Nice. My number 4 is one that I would bet most people have never even heard of, but maybe I can help put it on your radar.
Fast and Furious 10.
It is a movie called Argylle.
Ooh.
I'll just read the premise from the Wikipedia page. A world-class spy suffering from amnesia is tricked into believing he is a best-selling spy novelist. After his memories and lethal skills return, he goes down a path of revenge against the shadowy organization he used to work for. So that premise sounds cool to me.
Why does he have to be a novelist?
I don't know.
I don't see why that's in there, but okay.
So there are a few things that draw me to this film and put it so high on my list. One is the cast. So this movie stars Henry Cavill, who I'm a fan of. Cody, I know you're not, but you're wrong. In addition to Henry Cavill, we got Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, John Cena, Samuel L. Jackson, and some other folks. Pretty solid cast, but what has me most excited about it is that it is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who is a director that I don't think has made a bad movie. Most people would probably know him as the director of such films as Kick-Ass and X-Men First Class. But he, for the past several years, has been spending his time making the Kingsman series of films. And I love those movies so much. Like they are just absolutely ridiculous, but they are such a good time. And I am just, I mean, I am excited to see anything that he does. And, him plus this cast, plus this premise, I cannot wait to see this movie.
Well, you're gonna have to. So.
Well, I mean, I'm going to have to, but I'm really excited about it.
Okay, fair.
Number 3 for me is a movie that I really need. I really need it to redeem the movie which shall not be named. And that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
What a title!
It's a bit of a mouthful. As I say, Indiana Jones for me is it's definitely very high in my favorite franchises. It's my wife and I both enjoy it. Our son shares the namesake of Mr. Harrison Ford himself. The first 3 movies are so great, and then that 4th movie came along and it was like really an off step.
You just said we weren't mentioning that.
Well, I didn't name it.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So I see the trailer. The trailer looks pretty decent. I think if they just get back to some more kind of just some more gritty stuff, and I think what really needs is just practical effects. I know obviously they've de-aged Harrison Ford so that he can play this, a younger version of himself. And it looks really good. It doesn't look like it's this weird CGI look to it. It looks pretty good. So I just need no CGI monkeys and no CGI aliens. Just give me some practical effects, and a story that fits into the universe, and I'll be pretty happy. But I'm really excited to see it. I hope it's gets back on track. We'll see.
I hope it does as well. Okay, my number 3, I was just discussing downstairs with my kids beforehand, and my son claims my wife bought tickets to this movie sometime last year, which is obviously not true, but he's adamant about this. So I actually wrote a little back up on this one, so I'm just going to read this here. And this is already been mentioned once. This is the Super Mario Brothers movie. And I said, and I quote, "For as much as Nintendo milks their IPs and sequels, they do not often market themselves outside of their own safe world. Perhaps this has something to do with the disaster that was the original Super Mario Brothers movie with Captain Albano and John Leguizamo. Either way, I think as Joe mentioned here, the animation is fantastic in this. They went for Illumination Studios.
Hold on. Yes. Justice for Bob Hoskins.
Oh, yes. My bad. Wrong one. Multiple Mario ones here. Apologies. But Captain Lou is better. Anyway, let's move on. So Illumination, mostly known for the Minion movies, the Despicable Me films, and some other ones they've done, which are great. I think Secret Life of Pets might be Illumination also, if I'm not mistaken on that. But anyway, they're pretty good. Their movies are pretty funny, and also animation is really crisp and clear, so it was a really good choice for them to pick, if not Disney, then this other company, I think, to do the movie. And animation was 100% the correct way to go with this. I do have concerns with Chris Pratt, as has already been mentioned here as well, but maybe he's not so bad. The trailers I've seen for this are kind of weird, though, because they mention it seems like he's coming into their world from someplace else. I don't know if it's Earth world or where exactly it's going to be. But then I think in one trailer, they make some reference about it being Luigi's brother. So I'm confused if he's also from that world, or I don't really get what's going on there, but hopefully we explained. And then also, I know may not mean anything to the two of you, but when we went to Detective Pokemon or Detective Pikachu years back, that was a fun movie just because the kids were huge Pokemon fans and they were looking, and they very specifically in that movie threw random Pokemon in the background scenes all over to populate the world. So the kids were like, "Oh, it's so and so, look over here." It's Where's Waldo almost. And I'm kind of curious if this will be somewhat of that feel to Mario, just because there've been so many games and they have so many iconic, like, villains and even power-up items and stuff like that. So I just want to see what they're all going to shove into this, and if this is going to start like a franchise. But man, Nintendo's got so much they could cash in on besides the video games themselves, and they just don't. So I'm excited for this one.
Nice. My number 3 is the sequel to one of the greatest films of all time, which...
Oh God, here we go.
That film was called Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Damn you!
My number 3 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
He didn't say it 3 times in the mirror. We're okay.
I will say, I just have to put this out there. I don't think the Crystal Skull is as bad as everyone thinks it is.
Prove it. Say Shia LaBeouf 3 times.
No. I'll say this.
I thought.
When I first went to see Indiana Jones in the theater when it first came out, I mean, as Brett said, I am a huge Indiana Jones fan. Like, that franchise has been a huge part of my life. I went to see that movie in the theater, walked out of the theater feeling like, I said this as soon as I walked out of the theater to the friends I was with, that it was the most disappointing movie I'd ever seen. Like, not the worst movie I'd ever seen. It didn't seem like a great movie, but it was the most disappointed I'd ever been in a movie. A couple of years ago, my wife Alexis and I sat down and rewatched the Indiana Jones trilogy, and then, just because why not, decided to revisit Crystal Skull, and I kind of had some fun with it. It's not nearly as good as the first 3 movies, but it didn't feel as much like the childhood destroying, like, unmitigated disaster that everybody makes it out to be, and that I had kind of remembered it being. So take that for what you will, dear listener, but I think maybe it's worth giving that movie another chance. Again, it's not as good as the original trilogy, but whatever. Anyway, I am hoping that this new movie will be much better than that one. I mean, I think the biggest thing that increases the odds of that happening is that George Lucas is not involved in this one. Kind of from all accounts, he is what was wrong with Crystal Skull. I've kind of gathered in reading different things that he and Steven Spielberg clashed a lot, like both during the development and the actual filming of that movie. I remember when production was first starting, Spielberg actually said that he wanted to rely on practical effects as much as possible for that movie. And I mean, as Brett kind of talked about, we know how that worked out. And I mean, a lot of that, I think, was because of George Lucas's involvement. I mean, Indiana Jones was always kind of a partnership of those two. Interestingly, with this new one, The Dial of Destiny, Steven Spielberg is also not directing. It's the first Indiana Jones movie that he didn't direct. But it is being directed by James Mangold, who probably most notably for us nerds, directed Logan, which was a fantastic send-off to a beloved character. I actually saw that movie in the theater with Cody and Karen.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was a great movie. James Mangold is a good director. Also, this new one co-stars Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and I believe she also had a hand in developing the script. And she is, dare I say, a genius. I don't know if either of you guys have watched Fleabag, but it's like it's a British series, which there's 2 seasons of. I think it's on Amazon Prime Video, but it's like one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. And so, like, her involvement in this just gives me even more hope for it. So what I'm really hoping for is that this will be a good movie and a fitting send-off for Indiana Jones, and then we will never see him again.
I mean, to be fair, I disparaged Crystal Skull, but the first half of the movie I didn't really have any problems with. It just was like the way the second half went.
Yeah,
with like the silly.
I mean, the monkeys are like, There's no excuse for that.
Isn't there an ant scene too that's really bad? I remember
There's an ant scene, but I didn't have a problem with that. It was like just like mounds of like killer ants, like but yeah, it was the swinging through the vines with Shia LaBeouf that really kind of kicked me right in the groin there. All right, here we are. Number 2. It is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Bautista Strikes Again.
Yes.
Right? What the hell?
I mean, the first 2 movies were awesome. I love the chemistry between all these characters. The soundtrack is always phenomenal. I'm sure it will be again. It's just a fun. It's just a fun ride. The first 2 have been. It looks like perhaps this one might be a bit of more of a tragic story. We'll see how that goes. I know we've speculated before that it could be an end for some, if not many of the cast. We'll see. But I'm excited to see it, what it's going to be. I watched the trailer earlier, and it the trailer doesn't disappoint, and I'm just excited to see what will happen with these fun characters that honestly before the first movie came out, I didn't know anything about these characters. I was vaguely aware of them because of the Overpower card game.
Oh yeah.
that Cody and I both played a lot back in high school. But I've come to really enjoy these characters, so I'm excited to see where this story goes.
Yeah. Have we had any? I don't think we've had a movie hit all 3 of us yet, have we?
Not all 3 of us, no. I have been keeping track here.
Oh, you have been keeping track. Okay.
Yep.
My number 2 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which comes out next month, so don't have to wait too long for that.
I think you forgot something there, Cody.
Nope, there's nothing in mine. There's a couple dots. I don't know what that means though. But anyway,
I mean, it occurred to me after Brett mentioned this movie that this is probably the only movie on any of our lists that the entire film could theoretically take place inside someone's colon because they're so tiny.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah, all right, fine. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yay.
This one is, I think, going to be huge. Well, this is where we're going to start to see Kang in the MCU movie realm. Well, I guess period, because technically the other one was a different version of him in Loki. But this will be, if you are one of those people, we were talking about this in previous podcasts too, but if you are somebody who doesn't have Disney Plus and only watches the movies, this will be a new character to you, and you won't know any of the other stuff, which you won't technically need to, but it adds quite a bit to the story, I think. So what happens in this one? It looks like in the preview I saw here, we have the 4 main heroes with Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym going down into the quantum realm, but also his daughter, right? Doesn't Cassie go as well with them?
Yeah.
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's 5 of them going in, and just a lot of questions on this one. Like I think Brett said, like we have to kind of get some sort of feel for this guy being the next big bad with some kind of stakes that happen in this movie, whether that's going to be character deaths, which is entirely possible, because this is the 3rd movie. Like I could see them easily killing off Wasp or Ant-Man, or maybe, Janet and Hank would be kind of the really expendable characters if they want to go that route. I have a hard time believing Cassie will die because she seems like she might be set up for like the future of the movies, but maybe all 4 die. I don't know. And also the question of like Kang is down here in the quantum realm. Does he like escape from there? Is that where he's been? I mean, does he need to escape? I don't really get how the quantum realm totally works, and I don't know if they do fully either. So lots of questions on this one, but pretty excited to see where this goes to. So that's my number 2.
Nice. My number 2 was almost it's kind of tied for my number 1. Like I had a lot of back and forth as far as the order of my top 2. I'm still not entirely convinced I picked the right order, but here we are. But my number 2 is one that Brett mentioned already, and that is John Wick: Chapter 4. I just really, really, really love the John Wick movies. I actually was kind of late to the party on the first one. I don't think I saw it until not long before the second one came out. I'd kind of been hearing good things about it, but I feel like the first one was kind of like a cult movie. Like it didn't really do super well at the box office, but it just kind of garnered word of mouth. Actually, I was just listening to a podcast the other day where they were talking about this, and apparently the John Wick movies have like doubled each other at the box office with each release.
Oh, wow.
So I think like the first one did like 45 million at the box office. The second one did 90 million. The third one did like 180 million. Like you don't really see that kind of growth.
To go.
Yeah. So if this one continues that trend, it'll make like 380 million. But I mean, like Brett said, the action in these movies is just incredible. For me, like, I mean, the first one is relatively grounded. Like there's some, more heightened stuff. But the more the franchise has gone on, the more it's expanded this like mythology of this world of assassins. And it's gotten kind of ridiculous, but it's also interesting just the way that they have built this world. But I mean, at the heart of it, I just love seeing Keanu Reeves kick people's asses. And I mean, just so many of the fight scenes are just so like visceral. And
yeah,
I mean, like the kind of the last couple fights in John Wick 3 are like just phenomenal. It's got to the point where like they're just like, they know that they're just showing off. Like, I feel like they almost acknowledge it in the movie where multiple characters say what an honor it is to fight John Wick, because like in the mythology, he is such a legend, but it's also like, they know that they're putting on this display for the audience. But it's also, I mean, my wife loves these movies too. And like every so often, one of us will just be like, hey, want to watch John Wick? Sure. And we'll just end up watching all 3 of the John Wick movies within the span of, 1 or 2 nights. And
you really don't have kids.
We don't. But I mean, I've seen all 3 of the movies like many, many times now. Like that's how much I love these movies. So I've been excited for this ever since they announced they were making a 4th one, and I will go see. Actually, when we went to see the 3rd one in the theater, literally as soon as the credits ended, or the credits started rolling, I should say, Alexis turned to me and said, "I will watch every fucking one of these movies they make." and that's how I feel about it too. So there we go.
Cool. All right, number 1's here, I guess. Hey, all right. So just for those of you, if you've been trying to keep track in your head, we currently don't have any movies that all 3 of us have mentioned at this point. We have a few that 2 people have mentioned, but
not my fault. You all have bad taste.
My number 1 has been mentioned.
Ooh.
But will still not be for all 3 of us at this
point.
I mean, and I'm super hyped for this. It looks incredible from a nostalgia viewpoint, and that is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Wow.
I have, like, everything I've seen on this so far looks incredible. Obviously the big kind of elephant in the room is what is Chris Pratt going to be in this movie? I mean, that seems to be everyone's.
What is Chris Pratt?
There's in a couple of the trailers that they've put out, he has like moments where it's like, okay, that sounds pretty good, and then there's other parts that you're like, that doesn't sound really good at all. But when I was thinking about this earlier, like, is Mario, like, if we somehow got a straight up video game adaptation of Mario, would that be really enjoyable? Because he's very cartoonish.
I don't want to listen to Charles Martinet's Mario for like an hour and a half.
It's just like the whole movie. Like, do we need a more realistic human Mario, and is Pratt going to be able to like merge these two things, the video game Mario and a normal human Mario?
As long as he's got that ass from the trailer.
Or lack of.
Lack of. Quite a debate on that one online.
Yeah. So I mean that really does seem to be the only question to this movie, because everything else looks incredible. The animation is stunning. The fact that it feels like it's just a video game on the movie screen with just the locations, the characters are all, they didn't take like weird directorial like things with changes. They like everything looks exactly like out of the games. It's not like Mario has like teal pants or something, but everything else is the same. It's exactly right out of the games, and I feel like that's going to be a real big seller for it. So, I already said it, but like that seems to be the only question for me is how is Chris Pratt going to make this better or worse? That's the only question. So I'm excited for it. It's just like a fun quick aside is like I've been like hyped up, and like whenever a new information or trailer drops, I will get like, hey family, look at this, and my son the other day was like, I don't like Mario, and then like my heart just dropped. No,
because you gave him Fortnite too young. You did that.
Yeah, if there was a Fortnite movie out, he'd be all over that.
Give it time.
But yeah, anyways, that's my number one Super Mario Brothers movie.
I hope to God they have a shit ton of merchandise ready to roll out here in the next couple of weeks, because
I'm sure they will.
That's guaranteed $1 billion between merchandise and movie. Like, let's go,
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's a good choice. All right.
No pressure, Cody.
Oh, mine? You want me to do my number one?
Yeah.
Okay. My number one is called Ticketmaster: The Taylor Swift Affair.
What?
It is a documentary about the day we all remember from last year. And all right, my number one has been mentioned. I believe Brett has said it. I don't think Joe has, though, and Joe said he wouldn't. So this is not going to give us 3. So it's going to come down to Joe. It's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is my number one. This was tough for me between Guardians, Ant-Man, and Mario Brothers to rank those 3, but this is what I came up with. First thing I wrote down for Guardians of the Galaxy is the sentence, "I'm scared for this movie, period." As Brett mentioned already here, I expect there's going to be a ray of joy and happiness in this movie, but I really expect this is going to be dark. And it's not a good franchise to go dark either, because we love their lighthearted humor and dancing and songs and everything else. But I know it's been said by several of the actors, especially Batista here as Drax, that this is the last time he's ever going to play the character. And we know that this is likely the final movie with this cast, at least. But I don't know. I don't think I've actually seen a trailer for this. So if there is one, that somehow slipped through the cracks for me. But I know originally I'm basing this off of what I had heard before, that this is going to focus a lot on a villain called the High Evolutionary, who is, again, kind of like a B, not B as in like weak, but B as in like he's just not featured a lot in the Marvel comics. And I heard originally this was supposed to be about like Rocket Raccoon's origin story of where he's from and how he's made. And I heard that could get pretty dark in this movie as well. I know Adam Warlock's supposed to debut.
You need to watch the trailer.
I haven't seen the trailer. Sorry. So I'm talking about my ass here. I'm sorry. I don't know how I haven't seen the trailer for this, but I don't think I have. Will, I hate to say his last name, Poulter is the Adam Warlock. I don't like that casting job, because I picture that character as an older character than they cast, but we'll see how that goes.
That's a you problem.
Well, maybe they're doing it for longevity in the MCU as well. So, you never know. But super powerful character that's supposed to come out here as well. The one ray of sunshine I thought maybe might come out here is, I don't know if this is the last hurrah, if they're going to do anything else with the Gamora and Quill romance. Maybe that's in the trailer. I don't know. Is she in the trailer?
She is.
She is. Okay. So, okay, I'll have to check that out then. And then my questions for this, again, could be, do people die? Are they going to retire? What's going on here? And will we have a Guardians moving forward? If so, will it be a new look team? Like, I know the character of Nova kind of was nerfed originally in the MCU because they had a Nova Corps, but there's a character named Nova that maybe will join, or they have plenty of other members in the comics that have been on this team, including the Ravagers from this movie with Sylvester Stallone and all of those. That, like, the ship he's on, those are the original Guardians of the Galaxies in the comic book. So maybe somebody's going to trickle on and this team will carry on, but based on how much shit they have going on in the MCU right now, maybe Guardians of the Galaxy is done for now. I don't know, but I'm kind of fearful for both of these movies that I think we're going to lose some people we love. So we'll see. That's my number one, though. It was tough.
Man. Whew. Well, my number one, this is another one that I didn't really think was necessarily even going to be on my list until I saw the trailer.
I must be wrong then. You haven't said the one I thought was going to be somewhere.
And from the second I saw that shot of Baby Rocket in the trailer, I just knew that this was going to be on my list. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm just kidding. That movie is not on my list. I don't care at all. That's not true. I'll watch it at some point. I'm honestly at a point with the Marvel movies where
you picked the Marvels over Ant-Man, Quantumania, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
once again, proving audience he has no taste.
That's the one that I'm going to prove that even harder in a second here.
Oh,
No, I'm at a point with the Marvel movies where, for the most part, I'm just going to wait till they're on Disney Plus. Like, I enjoy them, but I don't really get excited about them anymore.
That's not going to keep it going, Joe. We need more commitment from you. Come on.
Oh, well, if you want commitment, look elsewhere, because I have another asterisk I'm going to throw at you here.
It's Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
This just occurred to me today. I do have a weird kind of asterisk / honorable mention coinciding with my number one slot. And that is the fact that a movie called How Do You Live, which is the next movie from Hayao Miyazaki, is scheduled to be released this summer in Japan. But they have not announced a North American release date yet. So if for some reason that gets announced and it is coming out in the States this year, that is my automatic number one. You can listen to me come very close to crying on a podcast talking about Hayao Miyazaki in one of our other episodes, so check that out.
Yeah, recently in episode 47, the holiday special.
Yeah.
Studio Ghibli.
But aside from that, my number one that is definitely coming out this year, and that I know Cody Fleming is very excited about, is a little film called Mission: Impossible - Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Wow.
It is a long title.
It is the first part of the next Mission Impossible film, the seventh overall in the franchise. And man, my top two, my 1 and 2 from the second we talked about doing this as a topic, I knew that it was going to be John Wick and Mission Impossible. I think those are the two greatest ongoing action franchises in film right now. And dear listener, if you have not caught up on the Mission Impossible films, please do yourself a favor and do that. Especially, I mean, you could honestly probably skip the first two. The first one is a good movie. The second one is very different from the rest of the franchise. But starting with the third one, and then especially from the fourth one onward, Tom Cruise has been on a mission to get himself killed on camera for our amusement.
He's trying hard.
He has started with the fourth Mission Impossible and kind of building more and more extreme with each subsequent one. He's doing these insane stunts like that he's actually doing himself. And it's to the point where they're actually like, he'll come up with a stunt that he wants to do, and then they develop an entire movie around it. Which that might not sound great, but the movies themselves are actually like compelling and entertaining, spy thrillers. But just some of the stunts that he does in these movies, it's insane that anyone would actually do these for real. and especially, a Hollywood leading man. Like, I don't know how the studio, like, I can't believe they let him do this. Not that they probably have a choice. I mean, like, they've already released footage of, like, which this has me curious. They've already released footage of what you would think would be like the major stunt for this one. But the fact that they've released the footage of it makes me wonder if there's maybe something even crazier that they're not showing us. But in this movie, Tom Cruise literally drives a motorcycle off of a cliff and then parachutes the rest of the way down. And apparently did this multiple times for the sake of filming the movie. Like, there's no safety wires. There's no safety. Like, there's nothing you could do safety wise for that. And
what
I just
to the motorcycles?
They just fall. They're just gone.
Sounds environmentally friendly.
That's great. I mean, I'm sure they recover the pieces, but anyway.
Boo.
I feel like nobody. Brett, have you watched the Mission Impossible movies?
I watched the first two and I enjoyed them, but I haven't kept up since then.
You need to. So, okay. So Mission Impossible 3, the main villain is played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman. And he is terrifying as a villain in that movie. I mean, he's a fantastic actor in general, obviously. But I mean, he's kind of the main selling point of that movie for me. And then, like, really starting with the fourth one, which is Ghost Protocol. It's just like crazy the stuff that they do in these movies. And it's, I feel like nobody I know has like watched all of these movies, and I mean, they do well in the box office, so people see them, but
yeah,
I kind of feel like a lot of people are like sleeping on them, even people who are, fans of action movies, and they're just,
is Henry Cavill in this one?
He was in the last one. He's
not in this one though.
Spoiler alert, no.
I'm not watching it then.
He was in the last one.
Is he the motorcycle?
No. The last one was fantastic though. I mean, so like,
he plays Superman?
Yes.
Joke's on you. He didn't play any of those characters. He just got a costume for them. There we go.
So in the last one, I'm just going to this is a Mission Impossible podcast now. In Mission Impossible Fallout, which was the last one, they literally had to I forget which country it was, but they had to film in a specific country because it was the only place in the world where Tom Cruise could legally do this helicopter stunt that he wanted to do. So they had to like move their entire production there just for the sake of being able to do this one stunt. Like,
one country?
Nuts.
I don't buy that fact.
I mean, that's the story. I'm just saying, it's incredible.
It's pretty
I can think of 10 countries top of my head. I'd be like, do whatever you want to do.
If you like action movies, watch the Missions Impossibles. Canada. I'm like super excited about this one. And yeah, that's my number one. I can't wait to see it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a franchise that, like I said, I enjoyed the first couple. I just haven't kept up with it. I know people, they keep getting good reviews. I just haven't come back to them.
Well, Alexis had not seen any of them until I think last year, and we started watching them. And by the time we got through with the last one, she's like, "So there aren't any more we can watch right now, right?" Like she's like hooked on it. And I feel like everybody I know, ignoring Cody, who has like seen these movies, is like that's like the reaction is, they're just like so good.
Well, I've never seen them. I mean, I've seen the first movie way back in the day.
Well, you
might have seen the second one.
You have a knee-jerk response to Tom Cruise, do you not? Or am I making that up?
I don't love Tom Cruise, but
yeah,
I don't dislike him as an actor enough that like I'm not watching something because of he's in it.
I mean, I know people do, and I kind of get it, but like.
He was Karen's beloved guy. Like she used to have her movie case, had every film he had ever been in or cameoed in. I
mean, I love Tom Cruise. I feel like he's one of our last real movie stars.
And then I think she fell out of love with him. I don't know if it was the Scientology thing or what, but I don't think we've watched a Tom Cruise movie in quite a while now.
Well, he should make up for that. Watch all of the Missions Impossibles.
Maybe.
One of them, I believe, had a theme song by Fred Durst and/or Limp Bizkit.
That was the second one, I think.
Yeah, it's a huge selling point. I think another one had the theme music done by
Metallica was the one.
the other two guys from U2, not Bono and The Edge, but the bassist and drummer.
Those guys.
It's Larry Mullen Jr. and Adam Clayton for the record.
I just got my Bono and Edge Funko Pops in a couple weeks ago. That's the whole band, so that's all I needed to collect.
Oh, nice. Ooh, speaking of Marvel alum, I actually have the page for this Mission Impossible pulled up here, and it looks like both Pom Clementif, who plays Mantis in Guardians of the Galaxy, and Peggy Carter herself, Haley Atwell, are in this one. So
I did just see that. Well, who hasn't been in the MCU at this point? Oh my gosh,
that's true.
It's crazy. Big.
Tom Cruise.
That is true.
There were rumors that he was going to be in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's right.
I was kind of sad that didn't pan out. Anyway.
Yeah.
These are the movies we're looking forward to. Hopefully, we may have given some listeners some ideas of things that they might want to check out that may not have been on their radar. But for now, I'm Joe. That's Cody. That's Brett. And we got to take it out of here with a good old-fashioned Hollywood musical style version of our theme song. Which is going to sound exactly the same as it always sounds.
There's always variances.
Fun,
fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun, fun,
disagree.
Disagree. Fun, 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 fun.
It's over.
Bye.